welcome back to the Quantum Experience. We have been on a brief hiatus this year, but I'm glad to restart the series with Lydia Baril. Lydia is the Head of Innovation and Partnerships at C12 Quantum Electronics. Lydia, thank you very much for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure.
Cool. So for this series, we were hoping to appeal to some of our future leaders in the industry. So I wanted to talk to some interesting people who have some leadership experience. So thought I would start with none other than Lydia. So Lydia, could you maybe give us a brief overview of your career to date?
Yes. Okay. So I have quite a long career and I've done a lot of things. So I will try to keep it short in the interest of everybody. So I have a PhD in superconductivity, and then I started my career in Silicon Valley at IBM. But I was not into quantum, I was into spintronics. And after a while, I came back to France and started a few companies, some of them more successful than others. Good learning curve there. One was in building equipment for manufacturing, so something quite interesting. And when I learned about quantum tech, I knew I had to do it. So I had to find a job. So I moved to the UK, Oxford Quantum Circuits. And then from there, I tried a few companies in quantum tech, including Microsoft Quantum. But also I went to Quantum DTU in Denmark and tried also Pascal. And now I like to say I found the best company, which is C12.
Yeah. Okay, that brings us on nicely. Could you maybe tell us about your role at C12? It's a really interesting company, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It is different. It has a unique technology. And after trying all these other ones, I think there is a lot of potential there because we tackle the noise from the beginning, because noise is a big issue in quantum computing.
Yeah.
So this is quite interesting. But my role is, like the title says, I'm in charge of innovation, which means, among other things, taking care of the IP portfolio, so the intellectual property, everything that has to do with that, but also partnerships. So I'm going to conferences and calling people and meeting people and trying to find ways to collaborate. But it also includes writing grant proposals, for example, European grants. But also, since it's a startup and I have a lot of experience, sometimes I do other things too, which is fun, like going a little bit in the labs, or doing helping with procurement, because I've done that. So sometimes I wonder what age I have, because I know things. I know too much.
Okay. Yeah, great. I mean, I remember the first time I came across C12 Quantum Electronics was a few years ago now, and I didn't know any company at the time that were utilizing carbon nanotubes, and I still don't, actually, now that I think about it.
No,
but yeah,
I think nobody does it.
Yeah. So yeah, really keen to continue to read about C12. So the reason I wanted to set this series up, Lydia, was to maybe appeal to some of the people that are already in the industry and potentially looking to become some of our future leaders. And so I wanted to touch upon your first leadership position. So how did it come around, and yeah, how did it go?
Yeah, okay. So that's a long time ago when I was at IBM in Silicon Valley. I was a young engineer, and suddenly I was put into management course for some unknown reason. Maybe I had mentioned it in a meeting or something. And so I went like for 3 months course of management, and that was amazing, so interesting, and nothing like I had learned before, because I was learning about physics and math and being an engineer or researcher. So that was like eye-opening. And then I started to use some of the things I had learned, and I became a manager, but only to a few people, of course, at the beginning. But then I moved, I started companies and I went to different roles. So I was never in a role where I managed a lot of people, but more like a few people, and then management, but in the sense like strategy or things like that, or like where is the company going? How do we set up a business or things like that? But I have to say that was really interesting, but that was hard also because on the way I learned also marketing and sales. That also helps into all these leadership roles, and that was difficult for me. But then now I see it's very useful and also very interesting. So I think what I'm doing now, of course, I could never do it when I was younger without all this experience.
Yeah.
So it was a good path. Sometimes difficult, but really interesting, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. So I'm about to go off script a little bit here, so I apologize, but
Of course.
I was interested to know there's a lot written about Silicon Valley these days, and it feels like it's you can't really escape it. But what was Silicon Valley like back then?
Yeah, so it was about the time of the dot-com bubble.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I think it was amazing to go there from France because of the US culture, in any case, the work culture. I was listening to a podcast yesterday from Sebastian Hassinger interviewing Martinez. And he mentioned that too, like he was working with Devoré, a French guy. And, it's so different because in France, we think a lot, we prepare, we know, there's a lot of theory. But in the US, it's like just, go for it.
Yeah.
And I had also this, at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, what are they doing? You need to think before, think before you move. But then, it also works sometimes. So it's super interesting. But yeah, it was crazy. Like people would change job every 9 months. There was a lot of movement and lots of energy. But of course, after the bubble, some people were not so happy. But yeah, that was a really interesting experience.
Yeah, great. So I'd never, it's interesting. I'd never really thought about the differences between the EU culture and the US. I mean, I had, but not in those terms. It's interesting what momentum can do when it's all action rather than
Yeah,
analysis.
yeah. And I'm not saying that you should always do that. But it's
Yeah,
good to have both, I think,
yeah,
both in your toolbox.
yeah,
That sometimes just stop thinking, and sometimes just stop asking, acting, and just
yeah.
think about it. Yeah.
So that actually brings me on nicely to my next question. This is the one that people would talk about, that people would message me about in the last series. So, are there any mistakes that you've made during your career? Maybe in leadership or entrepreneurship that you've mentioned a couple of times. That was a big learning experience for you.
Yes, definitely. It's always good to have to make mistakes, I suppose. So a big one was when I started a company in movies. So streaming. At the time,
Yeah,
streaming was not a thing. And I thought it would be so interesting to have it, especially because I was stuck at home with two small kids. And I
yeah,
was like desperate to get my mind out of all of this. And I started a company. That was crazy. I knew nothing about cinema, movies. I had no experience. I had no contacts.
wow,
And nevertheless, I did it. Well, it was not successful in the business sense, but there was a website with movies, and
wow,
it just was not very successful in terms of business. But
yeah,
so it was really hard because I had to learn to call people and sell the solution.
yeah.
And I just couldn't pick up the phone. That was horrible. But then I learned, and then I could do
I know
it.
what that feels like.
Uh,
Yeah,
but now it's easy for me now.
yeah,
So I'm glad I did it because
yeah,
now I'm happy to talk to people actually, and I know how to negotiate and how to sell a solution.
yeah.
So that was super useful. But I would have just died at the time. Just better die than call someone.
Yeah. When it comes to managing teams of scientists, uh, and super creative people, people who think maybe differently to others. How do you strike a balance between encouraging innovation and keeping people in line for what the company needs? How do you
Yeah,
strike that balance?
yeah, but I think it's not necessarily opposite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why shouldn't you be focused and creative at the same time? Why not? I think it's a lot of first. I'm also myself a scientist, and I'm
Yeah.
interested. So I'm interested in what people are doing, and I'm super curious. So I ask questions, and I'm interested. So I think that really also helps people, bringing new ideas. And also it has to be, of course, part of the culture. So we have to explain to people how do you write patterns. And maybe it's not that complicated to get started, just to be in the mood of, you have an idea, oh, it could be a patent, which is not so obvious for people at the beginning. And then streamline the process, because it can be hard, to write a patent, but if you help people or you make short memos at the beginning or meet them and try to understand what they are doing at that time and orient them, I think, you can do that. But it also has to come really from the top. Like if the management doesn't want people to innovate, it's not going to work. You have to
Yeah.
be encouraging in this sense.
So does that mean also encouraging people to make mistakes? Is that what that means to an extent?
Encouraging people maybe to just, be comfortable with just talking about an idea. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not a good idea, but who cares, means an idea. It's worth checking it.
Yeah.
And then if it's not worth it, then we just leave it. Yes, I guess some people must be uncomfortable, maybe. Yeah. But they're so smart. Strange, they're
Yeah.
so smart. How can they have bad ideas?
Yeah, sure. And I assume working for a company like C12 as well, that there isn't too much you can benchmark from because it's so unique. I mean, I know other industries use carbon nanotubes, but applying it this way is you're I guess you're at the forefront, so all the mistakes are yours to
Yeah.
some degree.
At the same time, we have a part that is chips, like
Yeah.
semiconductor chips, and
Yeah.
one part which is the carbon nanotube. So we can also invent or be innovative in this part with the chips. So it's not completely crazy. The carbon nanotube part
Yeah.
is indeed quite new, but there is a lot going on, and we've made a lot of progress. So it means people are creative and trying new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Some of the conversations that I've had with companies, they some of their leaders and managers may not actually have too much interviewing experience. So when you're interviewing new recruits, what are you looking for? And what are maybe some of the questions that you ask that get you closer to that information?
Yeah. So maybe it's not about the specific questions, but I think it's if you talk long enough with people, you start discovering the truth in case they were hiding it.
Yeah,
And but sometimes I also ask questions that are quite direct. I can give an example. For
please.
example, I had interviewed someone for a business, people's facing role, and this person was not dressed up, actually pretty bad. So I said, you're gonna face customers. Do you think it's important to dress up? And a person said yes. I said, so you didn't think it could be important today?
Yeah,
Give him a chance to explain. And
yeah,
this person said, oh, I knew where I was coming, which I said, that's a pretty big mistake. You don't say things like that, okay?
yeah,
I know I'm coming to like a place where people don't know how to dress. So that's it probably explains something about the way this person sees the company.
Yeah.
So that's always interesting. I mean, it's hard also to judge just by one comment or
Yeah,
one
sure.
remark, or
Yeah.
never know, it could be somebody good, but yeah. Maybe I have another example or two oh yeah, someone also at some point said something like, oh, I don't really care about the result, what's important is the path. And I'm like, maybe not. Maybe you want the results.
Yeah, the result's pretty important.
Pretty bad. But I think this person got hired and did well. But
Yeah.
see, for me, it's like red flags.
Yeah.
You should, and then somebody else also interviewed some other company, and this person said, "Oh, I'm gonna learn a lot. It's good for me." Good for you. But this person left after a year. Of course,
Yeah.
this person had learned enough. Next step. So yeah, some people sometimes they say things like that, and you have to be awake to hear them and like red flags.
Yeah, I think this is actually a conversation that I had with somebody yesterday, and it's I think changing some of the language that people use in interviews is important. It's not necessarily about your experience, it's what value that would bring to the company that you're interviewing for. And I think that's the change in mindset that people probably need before the interview.
Yeah. So that sometimes if they could be very good employees, but they don't have the skills to interview, which is bad, could cost them. But
Yeah,
sometimes also they haven't done their homework, and that's really bad. Like if I interview somebody who doesn't know about the company
yeah,
and just superficial, or you can see they are typing into GPT while
yeah,
talking, that's really bad. This is like a no. Sorry.
yeah.
If you're not interested, what? Like we are doing quantum computing and you're not interested? Oh, come on, if don't apply, don't come. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And some of the questions might need some logical thinking or even lateral thinking, but most of the time you don't need to guess. All that information is there for you. You just need to go and find it and answer it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So this series is obviously about leadership. So who's the most memorable or impactful leader that you've had in your career and why?
Yes, I thought about it. That's hard because I had, in the places I worked, they were really amazing managers.
Yeah.
So I have actually a long list, so I don't know where to start. But I think I can regroup. I won't bore you with all of them, but I think I can put them into like buckets.
Okay.
Like some of them, like in the US, of course, like
Sure.
Al Walash is famous into the field of electrostatic discharge. It was so intense. I had never seen that. Like, is it done yet? Is it done? Is it done? Should he asked me to do something that's gonna take 2 weeks, and he comes 1 hour later. Is it done? So that
Right.
was really funny, but
Yeah.
a little stressful, but so intense. He would accomplish things unbelievable in one day. So I learned also you could do that. And then I had these types of manager that are also always, super smart, work hard, but very cheerful and benevolent. And that I love that. It creates really a culture of happy people.
Yeah.
And I can cite a few ones. Jörg Hübner from DTU Nanolab, or Ilana Wisby from Oxford Quantum Circuit. And my boss now, Pierre Desjardins, is
Yeah.
always smiling. It's very nice. And then maybe last one is the guru, Leo Kawanhoven from TU Delft and Microsoft Quantum. He's very famous and had started, QTech in the Netherlands, and super smart also, and charismatic. And he could have people do anything,
Yeah.
People, they would just be so happy to work for him. And I know he had issues with some papers or what, but doesn't matter in this case. I mean, it was amazing how he could have people want to come and work hard. So maybe I'll stop here because I had a too long career.
No, that was great. Thank you very much. It's interesting that you value different types of leader as well. I guess you mentioned that somebody was very intense, almost like being in a French kitchen, I would assume, like the head
Yes,
chef.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I would assume that learning curve is really steep with somebody like that, and you
Yeah,
progress extremely quickly.
yeah, especially if you come from CNRS.
Yeah,
No, I mean, some people work hard also, but the rhythm is very different.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much. Well, that brings us to the end of this first edition back. So I want to thank you very much for being the first episode back, Lydia. I really appreciate your time. I hope
Well,
everyone else had enjoyed this as much as I have, and I know I've learned a lot from this one. So thank you very much. I
thank you.
appreciate it.